Okay, so now let's talk about audio and acoustics. And for me, in setting up my studio, audio and lights have been one of the biggest challenges as with most studios. But for me personally, audio was the most difficult. And this is because I have a very small room, which is the room that is full of hard walls that bounce off audio, and as a result I got too much of echo. You see, I did not know any of this stuff, so when I decided to partition off an area in our office that we don't use much and turn it into a studio, I assumed that once the partitions were up and once the aircon was installed and once the walls were painted, I could just hop into my studio and start recording perfect videos with perfect audio. But that wasn't the case. In fact, when I first tried to record in my studio, the audio was so bad that it postponed the studio project for at least 6 months, and I couldn't figure out how to improve the audio. The biggest problem was echo. So everything I say, because it's a small room, it bounces off the front wall and the back wall and all over the room, and it gets into the microphone as well. So I hear myself, but I also hear the echo, and once that happens, it's almost impossible to remove echo from your audio or from your video. So here are a few things you need to do to get the audio and the acoustics right in your studio. The first thing is remove vibrating and noisy objects. So one of the most common objects that vibrates and makes a lot of noise is your air conditioner. It could also be a fan, it could be a laptop fan. Now when you're recording outside in an open area, in your living room for example, you tend to not pay attention to these small tiny noises, and you don't even know it's there. But when you move into a studio and when you start trying to record in your studio, it's much quieter in your studio, and that's where all these tiny noises actually seem like really loud. So your air conditioner, that's one thing. The fan, your chair, for example, if you're sitting on a chair that you can lean back, and that needs a bit more grease, then you have some creaking sounds over there. So try to remove all these things in your studio. And in fact, I prefer to, in my studio, use a chair that has no rollers. In fact, it's a stool. It's just a simple plastic stool. At least it doesn't make noises that I don't want to end up inside my audio or videos. So every room is different, and you really need to sample and analyze the acoustics in your room. And to do this, what you need to do is you need to have good headphones or earphones, because with headphones and earphones you can actually pick up the tiny details, the tiny echoes, the tiny vibrations, all the small noises that you don't hear if you're just depending on the speakers of your computer or your laptop. So you need to sample and analyze the acoustics in your room before you start adding stuff, and also after you start adding stuff into your studio room. Okay, how do you do that? The next thing that you want to do is buy foam panels and bass traps for your home studio or office studio. This is almost always necessary unless you have the perfect conditions in your home where the acoustics is just beautiful. But if you're building a studio from scratch, there are going to be problems with audio, and you will have to buy this stuff. And I'll explain more in the next few slides on how to actually go about buying foam panels and bass traps. You can also DIY, do it yourself. If you're handy with tools and if you're confident that you can do this stuff yourself, you can feel free to experiment. You can even use curtains, cloths, or other objects that absorb audio well. But for me, I'm not a DIY person. In fact, if I'm around power tools, you better not be around me because you could get hurt. I really don't know how to do much stuff DIY, so I prefer to just buy it. So I will explain, in this course I don't talk about DIY, how to do it yourself, but I do explain where to go and get the stuff with the best prices possible. So with every studio you need to test, evaluate, and then add on stuff or remove stuff from your studio to get the kind of acoustics and the audio that you want. So a big mistake a lot of people make, and I've made a mistake too, is that you do a test in your studio and you realize that, oh my god, there's a lot of echo here, I need to buy foam panels, I need to buy bass traps, and you go out and you buy tons of foam panels and you pad up your entire room, and that most certainly will get rid of the echo problem. But when you put too much of this stuff in your studio, it also absorbs other frequencies in your audio, and as a result you'll end up sounding very much not like yourself, because a lot of the low bass frequencies and mid frequencies and high frequencies are absorbed by all this additional padding in your studio, and then you'll have to undo all of that. So what I want you to do is sample, analyze, test it, and then evaluate how much of the stuff you really need to add into your studio to remove any echo problems, and then test again and modify, add stuff slowly so that you don't waste money, and so also you don't need to backtrack and start ripping off stuff from your walls. So for sampling sound, it's very easy. You just need to use Audacity and an audio recorder. Audacity is a free open source software that you can Google for Audacity, and it's easy to use. If you're talking about the basic functions, just click record, and it allows you to record in stereo mode, and it also allows you to analyze the waveforms of your audio, and it's very easy to see if there's an echo or any other problems with your audio. Then you can just walk around your room, clap as hard as you can, and watch out for the echo. And if you can actually hear the echo without having to refer to the recorded audio, then you have a big echo problem, like what I did with my home studio. As soon as I enter the studio and I start saying something, I can immediately hear the echo. So that's a lot of modification required to my home studio. But in your case, you could have almost good acoustics or almost the sound that you want, but you still need to record it, because well, the human ear can only pick up that much of information about sound. So clap, walk around to all four corners of your room, make sure that you record the audio, and then analyze it, listen with headphones. Again, when you listen with headphones, you'll be able to pick up all the tiny details, all the small problems with your sound that you won't be able to pay attention to or notice if you're just depending on the audio played back from the speakers of your laptop or your computer.